Hi, I'm Carmen Wild, and this is Business Without Barriers. No barriers? Well, let's find out. My guest today, Cary Hokama, is a fearless warrior with a big heart. At 7, he knew his life's purpose was to have impact. Well, Nike move over. Cary doesn't just do it, he does it big. By 22, he was in pursuit of stardom as the lead singer of a rock band. By 25, he'd started his own record label and owned a recording studio. By 30, he'd started a clothing line. His wedding was nationally televised on the Oprah Winfrey Network. In 2016, he wrote the bestseller book, Own Yourself, and is the host of the Own Yourself podcast. Today, he's built up a number of businesses, invested in multiple companies, and was one of the speakers on the Think and Grow Rich World Tour, sharing the stage alongside some of the world's greatest speakers. And he's on a purple belt journey in jiu-jitsu. This is a man fired up to leave a lasting legacy of impact. Cary fought back. He bust through the barriers and claimed an inspiring life worth sharing. Cary, welcome to the show. What's going down?
Carmen, all I got to ask you is what do I got to pay you to come on tour with me to do all my introductions wherever I go? How do I do? How do I get that possible?
Pay me in love.
Oh, you got it. That's the easiest deal. Handshake. You got a deal there. But wow, thank you so much. That was, whenever a special friend can share something like that, that really, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you. And you know how we are. We get really deep and we get emotional. We get to share. And so I'll save some tears right now. You know what I mean? But I just want to say thank you, Carmen, for having me on your show. It's an honor.
It's an honor for me to have you on the show, Cary. Your magic is what we want to share today. So let's get right into it. And I want to start at the beginning. So you were 7, okay? 7-year-olds are supposed to be playing and digging sandcastles. But you had this idea and ambition of being the next Michael Jackson. You wanted to have an impact. What was driving you at that age?
Yeah, and I want to add Michael Jordan as well. I watched Michael Jordan and Michael Jackson, and I think I was just one of those precocious kids where you would see magic like that, and you get mesmerized and you get captivated by that. And so you truly realize, you know what, there's really something special and something that's out of this world that these performers can actually put on stage, where the world is captivated by their entertainment and just their ability to connect with the crowd. Mm-hmm. And so I saw that, and I could tell why Michael Jackson is here and Michael Bolton's just like a step below. Yeah, I could tell the difference at that age.
Wow.
And so it was just one of those things where it was always a light bulb, just like, man, he made me feel like I was out of this world. It's completely different from what I see inside the house or when I go to school and see just kind of like the normal environment. And I was always moved by that. It was a spirit or whatever you call it, man. Like I felt it and I wanted to be that. So at that age, I always set a higher concept of myself to be like, I want to be great.
That's fantastic, Cary. And I think what you're saying there is it was the relativity, the difference between what you're experiencing and what was real out there through these figures, which inspired you and ignited this fire. So that fire, that Cary fire magic was already ignited already at such a young age. But as we know, in most stories, the hero's journey, you have that fire and ambition, but life happens. Life happens. So tell me about an early life experience that left an indelible mark on you.
Oh, 1000%. I may have shared this with you before. Growing up, my father was my hero, right? So obviously guys like Jordan and Michael Jackson inspired me, but my hero was my father. He's the one who taught me how to play sports. He taught me how to act. He taught me how to tell stories. I remember as a child, I would go on tour telling stories to all the other elementary schools. And my dad was my coach, right? And so, he was my hero. And when I was 10, my dad told us, my sister and I, we're 3 years apart. And he said, we don't have money. We don't have enough money. And so therefore, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to Japan, take this job opportunity, but I promise I'll be back in 1 year. Right. But even then, 1 year as a 10-year-old child for your superhero dad to just leave out of the country all of a sudden, that is just a sad, sad moment. And I remember I endured that moment every single day. I would mark my calendar, wait till my dad comes home. And then after a year, my dad came back and visited, but he said, I have to go back. If you want to live a certain type of life, I have to go out and make more money. My dad was making $19,000 a year trying to support our family. Right. And people easily make that a month these days right now. Right. So I can imagine, wow, it was a punch to my gut. And again, 2 years gone by, 3 years gone by. I was 10, Carmen. I'm 42 years old. My dad is still in Japan.
Oh, wow, Cary.
So it's the years afterwards of building up these internal narratives inside my head saying, you know what? My dad doesn't love me enough to want to come back and be with our family. Or my dad is out there maybe starting another life with somebody or having another. It's all these little weird narratives that had started building, starting when I was 10.
Yes.
Right. And as you know, the subconscious mind, all that gets built up when you're young. Absolutely. And your paradigm gets solidified during those times. And so that was a really a huge area in my life that I had to deal with and struggle with for so many years, is because it's because of that story that I grew up to be hungry. I wanted to be the next mogul and tycoon just so I could save my family, just so that I can experience the ability to say, Dad, you could come home now because I got this now. But that was another struggle in and of itself.
Absolutely. What you're saying though, Cary, is at such a young age, you experience such deep emotions and the sense of being let down and abandoned, in your own words, by this hero. You're looking at heroes outside, but you had a hero in your own home, and you experience that loss. Yet, it's the one thing, from what I'm hearing you say, shaped you so much, because it gave you a hunger, such a hunger, to bring them home again, and that's quite a beautiful purpose that was born out of that. And now that you've told me that story, I can just see how everything you've built since there was from a foundation of that hunger to do something different. Thank you for sharing that with us. So you are incredible in creating opportunity. So many people out there say, there's no opportunities. The market is saturated. There's not enough out there. Cary, you just walk into opportunity all the time. So how are you creating so many opportunities? And you've had this door to success, as you said, cracked open so many times. I want to know, first of all, how do you see those opportunities? What are you doing to see opportunities others don't see?
Yeah, that's thank you so much for that, by the way, Carmen. I always here's what it is. Going back to when I was 7, because that still is related to how I see everything. My paradigm is that I always felt like I had a gift from God. When I say I want to do great things, it was not me taking over as me as a superstar. When I say that I felt like I was supposed to be on the world stage is to add value into people's lives. And so I realized that the first 33 years of my life, I did everything so that I can be the king, that I can be this tycoon so that I can take over the world and save my family and save all these other people. But until I realized that after all the pain and adversity and the trials and errors that I faced, that I came to a moment where I realized that I want to spend the rest of my life, adding value and building the kings and the queens of this generation. And so when I look back and I think about your question that you just asked me, opportunities come when you understand that money, for example, is a byproduct of you helping people solve their problems. It's a byproduct of you adding value. The more people you can help, the more value you have, the more money you will have. And so we always think about, especially in the business realm and entrepreneurship, if we could just change just the semantics in what we say, we always think, oh, I got to go make money, right? We're always saying, come on, man, go make money. And if you could understand it and pivot your mentality into thinking that there's only two types of people in this world who make money. It's the government who print money and they're counterfeiters who print fake money, right? So Carmen, you and I don't have, we don't make money. You and I have money. And how we have money is because we've added value into people's lives. We've directly or indirectly solved their problems, and we've scaled it at a level to where that's how we walk into opportunities, I believe. And so I think once people can feel that ethos come exuding from your own world, how you show up to this world, I think more opportunities will come. So for example, right now, the US, we're going through an extreme pressure circumstance right now where we're, it's a pandemic right now. A lot of people are losing jobs, losing opportunities. And, I have a strong passion for small businesses. And I also have a strong passion for creating content. And a team of us, we were all entrepreneurs. A lot of us still had jobs on the side. And we're thinking, how do we save and help out a lot of these small businesses? Why? Because our parents are all small business owners. All of our parents came from Asia and Europe and other places of the world to come here to hustle, to build, a business so that our generation can come and have plenty of opportunities. And so we said, you know what? We love food, for example, so much that why don't we create a virtual food fest in where we go and market, and we would help out these small restaurant owners and saying, you know what, let's go ahead and market it and have a live virtual kind of experience where the chef and the audience, the consumers, can have kind of like a chef's table experience virtually. And so we created a team of 15, and it's called Food Fest Live. And now we're going out there every other city. Every other week, we're going to different cities and supporting our local businesses doing that. And just within the last 2 months, we've been able to partner with major food companies and brands. And it's just something like that. It just comes out of thin air. But I feel like opportunities come when you continuously look to solve people's problems and how you can truly add value without having any of those, I want this back in return. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's the way you've put it is so beautiful, and the way you've related it back to money, because it's the one aspect of my life that I've seen so it's come to life where you add value is just added back to you, and it comes in ways that you cannot even put a price to it. Yes, the money flows back, but the countless priceless moments and opportunities and experiences that come when you add value first. So it's go first is what you're saying.
Yes.
Add value first, and that value will just flow back to you in abundant ways. So you've taken, from what it sounds like you've created in terms of this venture and your future. So I'm taking that this is where you want to take your future, through this food media company, which brings so many of your passions into one place. So it's still a bit of stardom. There's this cinematic part of it. It's people, it's passion, it's food, it's delicious. It's absolutely delicious.
Technology,
yes.
yeah.
Absolutely. And you put in others onto that stage, which is always what, since a young person, you've been wanting to do. So tell me, what happens if we go into lockdown again? So how do you then take this beautiful concept that you have and still continue if everything shuts down again? How would you do that?
Yeah. Well, you just have to be open to new opportunities then. Right. And
Mm.
it's one thing is that this is something that I've done maybe in the last few years, but I no longer, some of our cool stories I had to get rid of. Like
Mm.
it's almost like when you ask someone, Carmen, how have you been introducing yourself to people lately? Is it the same way you introduce yourself, for the past 5 years, 10 years? Is it the same
Mm-hmm.
way? And I still hold on to my cool stories. Oh, I was in a band and I did this.
Yeah.
I
But
went
that
on
is a
tour.
cool story. That
It is
shaped you.
cool.
Yeah.
Yes, it is cool, right? So, I always used to think that I was going to be the next Les Brown. I thought I was going to be the next Tony Robbins because of my experience.
Yeah.
And I've been able to just say, you know what? My story can change like immediately. And I'm going to take it, right? It's what I get from you when you explain to me that you just have to decide. And I
Yeah.
decided that I'm just going to go and be myself and just give it all I have. And even if it means I have to disconnect myself from the story of this illusion that I thought I was always going to be Tony Robbins, who knows? That could be that in 10 years after I create a 9-figure company.
Yeah.
Right. But it's completely just saying, you know what, no matter what situation it takes, no matter what, that my biggest inspiration every single day, my biggest superhero is now my future self.
Yes. I
And
love that. Tell me
when
a
you
little
do
bit
that,
about that. Yeah.
yeah, if you think about, and this isn't my story, Dr. Benjamin Hardy said this well, and he shared it in his book, and he was on my podcast lately. My latest podcast, he was on it, and he shared a great comparison. There's this NBA player, National Basketball Association. He was the MVP last year, and he's an international guy from Greece, and he was the MVP. And then he compared that life, and what he had accomplished to, I think his name is Buzz Aldrin.
Yes,
The
yes,
guy
yes,
who went
yep, yep,
to the moon.
yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Absolutely.
comparison was that when Buzz came back, he had accomplished at the age of 39
Mm-hmm.
going to the moon and coming back. Now,
That's
what
quite
happened to
something.
him afterwards, I have no idea what he is currently, but we do know that he went through a severe state of depression and alcoholism, and he went through a funk for many years. Now, you take that life and you look at it, compare it to a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo, who won MVP of the NBA last year. When he won that award, I remember after a game, a reporter said, "Man, Giannis, you must be so proud to come from Greece and you win the MVP of the league, the best player. Man, you must be so stoked. Like, how do you feel?" And he's like, "Quite frankly, I don't even want you to bring that up anymore." And she was like startled, like,
Mm.
"Why?" It's like, well, that's already the past. If I don't continue to seek my highest concept of myself, I'm never gonna, I'm just gonna go back to living in the past. And I want to always use my highest self as my superhero. And I believe that the difference is that Buzz Aldrin already set in his mind that he had set the highest goal of all time, which is crazy, which is going to the moon and back. But when he came
Yeah.
back, I felt like he lost that highest self-concept, right?
Mm.
To know that you can do still great things, even greater. But when you resort to just coming back and living in your past, which I had been doing for a long time, then you could go down a downward spiral. So it all comes back to keeping your future self as the launching space for you to get from point A to point B on a daily basis. And that's what keeps me going every single day. I don't care about the process anymore. I used to want to make everything look sexy and awesome
Yes.
and make you look IG famous. And I've dropped that. It's just really the fulfillment
And
is
I
number
think
one.
that's what makes the magic, Cary. So now you're doing it for a different reason. It's about the pure joy of it, the value that you're adding, that every step is creating that bigger impact. And that's what you're going for. So, and what you're saying about your future self, which means then if you reach it, If you reach even a part of that, you've got to raise the bar higher each time. So your
Absolutely.
future self is shifting. It's not one solid figure. As you get closer, you're shifting. And your whole story, if you look at all these different things that you've done, so many different industries and amazing opportunities you've followed, has shaped the richness of you and is molding this future self, which is incredible. So I love that you haven't got stuck on one thing. You've given yourself permission to change your story, which is beautiful. And you haven't allowed you to just become the story. You've shaping it constantly. It's beautiful. So it grows and it grows and it's got different twists and turns. Amazing, amazing. And that's why I think I feel when I experience you, it's magic because it's not defined.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
that's
this
a great way to put it.
yeah, it's shaping. You're shaping it constantly. It's gorgeous. So I want to go back into, so being business without barriers is the theme of this podcast. I want to go into, for you, take us into a time where you experienced a barrier and let's look at a business experience that you really felt tore you. It felt like it was tearing you at the core of you at the time. And then how that shaped the experience to follow. Take us into
Oh,
one of
yeah.
those times.
Yeah, in the intro, you had mentioned that I had started a clothing line, and I started a couple clothing lines, but the big one that really stands out, that really shaped my paradigm, at least allowed me to shift, was when I had invested some at that time when I was in my late 20s, was a lot of money. It was about $100,000,
Yeah.
and so I had to raise that amongst my few of my friends. And we were so desperate to want to be a part of that movement because the investors and the founders, one is a legendary graffiti artist who had already succeeded a previous apparel company before that.
Mm-hmm.
And the new investors were Major League Baseball players at the time. Like, they're huge.
Yeah.
So for me to be able to be a part of that, and I've seen the warehouse, I've seen the lifestyle. We went and partied with rock stars and I was like that. So I was just like, man, this was right after my music career had ended. So it's just like easy, just pick up where you left off. And this is just parlaying into a new territory of success.
Yeah.
But what I found was, again, you know how it goes, just when money gets involved and everyone gets involved and you just start to realize that the money that went to certain people we just couldn't trust, and it was handled very poorly. There were some angry people to a point where, I mean, literally, Carmen, like guns were drawn.
Sure.
Guns were drawn.
Wow. Wow.
People were going into hiding.
Mm.
It was just an ugly mess. And it was also a huge financial burden for me, right? I mean, we borrowed from anybody and everybody. I took out of my retirement account at that time. And so what that did was I realized one thing is that when your will is so strong, you can pretty much do anything you can. And at that time, we're like, dude, we lost $100K, but guess what? We also raised $100,000 in 1 month, so it's crazy. But after you lose it all and you realize, wow, I still have to pay all these people back, instead of saying, well, sorry guys, sorry man, it was just a bad investment. I felt this huge gap in my soul, and I felt so guilty and bad that I even took a second job. I took a second job that paid me $12 an hour working in a warehouse, and I used all that to pay my friends and my family members back on a monthly basis. So that was a great time of learning, where I realized that you have to be shrewd and smart and understand transaction, understand paperwork, understand ROI, and to have integrity in the whole process. Because it's crazy. It was my best friend at the time that I borrowed money from as well. After the whole thing went down, I paid him every single penny back. But then he asked for interest.
Oh my
He
word.
asked for interest, saying that had he had invested into the S&P 500, this is what he would have, this is what he would have accrued. And so he wanted that portion from me after he knew everything that, I mean, I lost everything. I paid him back, right? So
Absolutely.
it made me learn what money can do with people and relationships. And it was just a great learning experience for me in business. It's just what I learned is that I can't go out and chase money. I have to be a valuable man where money comes chasing after me, and
That's
so that.
incredible. Wow. I mean, that is an extreme example of a situation that started with such an elated experience that and where it could have gone to, and the shift into such a dramatic, extreme, different side of it. So you got in one experience all the toxic, ugly side of business. And what I'm loving in terms of what you're saying is, and this is exactly what the show is about, that if you see it, these things that happen to us as barriers, well, they will just be barriers. However, you've broken through every single barrier and you've taken a learning, a growth point. It's shaped you. It's taken you that next step into that next step of business. So there's no, for someone like you, and I want to talk about how you experience pain, but you don't see the barrier anymore. You see that opportunity. You see the learning point, the growth point. And that's exactly what it is. It's not necessary. If you get caught up in the barrier, it will only be that. It's the opportunity for breakthrough. And that's exactly what happened. You took such a painful experience and turned it into something that has actually shaped the rest of you in terms of value and how you see money. And so coming back to that, you've mentioned somewhere, I was listening to something, and you said pain is your friend, which is a really interesting insight. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So as we all know that, you don't see anything until you commit to it and you see what's at the other side of that commitment.
Yeah.
And once you make that, it's obviously whatever you do, a venture, you're taking a risk, right? And there's fears involved. And whether you go through a painful situation or it's a great one, I say that pain is what gives you the ability to know yourself even better. Pain, a bad transaction or a horrible experience, even a breakup, right? Partnership breakups, right? All that gives you the ability to make you better. You learn. And so rather than fearing, because a lot of times we now, for so many years, I was so opposed to having a new partner because of all the pain I've experienced.
Yes.
But again, it's telling yourself a different narrative, right? You could change your story, right? And you don't have to fake it. You just got to own it. And once you could own it, you could change your narrative. And so I started saying, you know what? I don't mind pain. I don't fear that anymore. I've been through so much that pain is my friend, because guess what? It's going to add to my stories later. It's going to add to how the ability to negotiate better, or to get into and decipher, a deal much with much more clarity. And guess what? You decide better, right? I know you're big on decision.
Yes.
So going through pain gives you that much more clarity in the near future, because you don't know what's going to be on the other side until you hit that, because you have to make some decisions right after. And so I've used that pain has now just become my friend. I use it as my best friend, as an ally, to help me get to the next level even quicker and sooner, and with much more gratitude.
That's an incredible way to go through life, because we can't avoid the struggles or the pain or the circumstances or the stresses. So when you have that disposition, then the fear just goes, it becomes courage takes over, which gives you that constant bounce, in terms of, it's like you bouncing in from the pain into the gain constantly because of your approach and your mindset. So what I'm hearing, Cary, is this incredible mindset. You have a different take on life. because of your experiences, and a number of barriers and circumstances and struggles have all shaped you into such richness. It's incredible what the Cary that we know now. With you take all, if you just had smooth sailing all your life, let's look at that at a different extreme. If you just everything had just you've landed into that stardom and it was just absolute smooth sailing, it may have been a completely different Cary that we would be talking to than the one we see today.
Yeah, absolutely, Carmen. One thing too, a quick analogy, just because, I did spend a lot of time in the fitness space as a professional.
Yes.
And talk about pain is that, when you work out, you do reps and sets. And most people, when they do work out, they're so fixated on the number, like, oh, I have to do 10 reps of this. So regardless of the level of tension that you feel in your muscle, that tension turns into pain, right? You just go 10 and I'm done, whether it was hard or not. But, the elite performers and the ones who show the most progress, or say elite body or a muscular body or a changed, transformed body, you can relate that to that. So tension is what allows your muscles to grow. Tension is what allows the particles to rip, and then through nutrition it builds, right? And so so we want to get that rip. We want to feel that pain. We want to feel the blood from your chest, like it hurts so bad. But we fiend for that, because that's when you know that you're going to experience the most growth. And that's the same way in business. Not
That's
that you're
fantastic analogy.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you can have a ripped business. That's what you're creating, right? You're creating a ripped type of business through your food festivals. I mean, that's amazing.
Yes.
And you bring in so many different aspects of it. So you've got this thing about Kaizen and the greatest samurai warrior. How do you say this dude's name?
Oh, his name is Miyamoto. Yep.
Okay, so that's been a great teacher for you. Tell me about that, because I see a warrior in you for sure. So tell me about that.
Thanks, Carmen. Just a funny story, real quick, is that when 23andMe first came out, you know what that is? It's where you take you draw blood or spit, and then they find out like your deepest history and your ethnicity.
Okay. Yes.
And yeah, prior to maybe 5-6 years ago, like I always wanted to think that I was like mixed with some European or something exotic. I always wanted to be kind of exotic, And so when I had taken
exotic, damn it.
No, so my wife took hers, and her test came back first, and she had some European in her, and then she had some Japanese. She's Korean though, mainly. So I got all excited. I was like, you know what? When I speak on stage, I want to be able to say that I got some European or something exotic in me. And when my test came back, I was 100% Japanese. It's like, oh, that's so boring. I was like, that's so boring. But you know what? It's time to own it, right? And embrace it.
Exactly.
And my ancestors are from Okinawa, Japan, which is an island off of the island of Japan. And that's where karate was born, and huge martial arts. So I studied the works of Musashi Miyamoto, who was the greatest samurai warrior to ever walk the earth. And so he started battling people from the age of 13. And when I say battle, Carmen, I'm talking about sword fight. So whoever lost died.
Wow.
You get what I'm saying?
That's serious.
And so the samurai warriors were those who dedicated their entire lives serving their lords. So they served the government, they served the kings, they served the queens, they served the elite people. They were those guys who protected and built them up. They literally dedicated their entire life to master their craft with strategy, virtue, and sword fighting. Right. So it's all about mastering your technique, leveraging, and just mastering yourself, yourself, highest concept. So I looked at that, and how I see my business and how I see money and adding value is this. In his book, he had read, because he went undefeated in his entire life. I think he retired at 65, never lost. And so he was able to really pick up some strategies and self-mastery. And he said this, Carmen, he said, if one can defeat 10, then 10 could defeat 100. And if 100 could beat 1,000, then 1,000 can defeat 10,000. I used to think, wow, that is so crazy, because we watch movies like 300 with the Spartans.
Yes.
We know all about the small and mighty. Like, we love that, right? We love the small and mighty who conquer. And I always saw myself as that. Like, I want to be part of a potent team that we take over the world, just us. Yes. Right. And but how do I relate that to business when I go to speak? Because we can't think about if one can kill 10, then 10 can kill. I don't want to go that route. So I said, how do I relate this to my business and my audience? And I said, you know what? Because I'm so passionate to serve, it makes sense. If one can serve 10, then 10 can serve 100. And if 100 can serve 1,000, then 1,000 can serve 10,000.
So
if you create 100 of those tribes and you serving 1 million people. So when people say, I want to serve 1 million people, you can't possibly go and serve 1 million people yourself. You have to have a legendary team who understands your culture, your ethos, and your vision to scale that as a team. And so that's where I truly fell in love with that paradigm of Musashi Miyamoto's virtue, his self-mastery. And Kaizen is just a word that describes all it is just continual improvement. So it's a simple philosophy that's potent, because every single day, all we got to do is focusing on improving ourselves. And if you're doing that, then essentially we are living the dream, because you can go back and listen to Tony Robbins and Les Brown and Jim Rohn. They all say the same thing. Progress equals happiness. Progress is what gives us fulfillment and joy, right? We all, if you're a billionaire, Carmen, and I'm a thousandaire, and we die tonight, we're just going in the same place right next to each other. Right? So the difference is, like, did we live? Did we matter today? Did we progress? Right? And I think that today in society, we put such a high standard on what it means to be wealthy, right? It means to have that big yacht and the mansion and every Louis Vuitton purse, Chanel possible. Yeah. And we already know the answer to that. That's not you could bring some sort of happiness, but that's not what's going to give you that rich fulfillment inside. And we all know that. We've seen enough rich, famous people who end their lives shortly and thinking that it's never enough. Right. So of course we want the finer things. We want achievement. We want to add value and serve a lot of people. But at the same time, at the end of the day, did we improve? Did we get better? Did we become a better husband or a business partner or entrepreneur or a colleague or a son or a brother? And Carmen, you can agree or disagree, but in our world, I believe that people only want one of two things. When it comes to the bedside, you're about to die, I think we only want one of two things. We want a peace of mind, right? And we want to know that we had some freedom in our lives, right? I think whether it's your belief in God, people say, no, well, for me, it's faith. Well, faith is part of peace of mind, right? When you say I lived for my family, you live for your family because that's what gave you peace of mind. Right. So for us, I believe, if we improved from yesterday to today, and knowing we're going to die, of course, we're not going to go to the moon by tomorrow. So if I just realize, man, I've realized how much I've progressed over these years. And from 7 years ago, when I first made this stupid dancing video that's on YouTube, to some of my more recent videos where I'm on the stage with Tim Story and David Meltzer, these guys, it's like, man, you know what? I am pretty happy. I'm fulfilled. I have a wife downstairs that just supports me in everything that I do. I'm talking to, seriously, like one of my best friends who's in Mauritius right now across this virtual screen. You know what I mean? Like, there's really not much. If you think about the exact conversation we're having right now, this is the most important conversation, or the most important thing that we could be doing right now, because this is all we have.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's the moment.
Right. And so it's when you think of Kaizen, it's not a cop-out move that, I just want to continually improve. That's the motto of Toyota. Toyota is one of the biggest automotive, corporate, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And that's it. It's Kaizen, continually improve.
Yeah.
And so I decided I got to simplify, how I do things. And even in business, we're talking about business without borders. I've truly simplified how I go about things. It's three things. Is it simple? Is it fun? And is it lucrative? Is it simple? We know it's not easy, but easy and simple is
absolutely.
different.
Yes.
Nothing's going to be easy, but it's got to be simple. And is it fun? I realize I'm not going to partner with people I can't see myself going on vacation with anyone.
That's stunning. Stunning.
And then it's got to be profitable, right? But other than that, man, those are really just the foundation, the three pillars that I go by, and it's what served me very well up until this point.
That's fantastic, Cary. And just putting everything you've just said with so much richness. Wow, it's like a book can be made from what you just said there. The thing that stood out for me was the improvement being living the dream. That's profound, because you've just made this whole living the dream concept, which seems so unreachable, because we attribute yachts and choppers and jets and all these things to living the dream. Well, how about it's just about us doing the human thing, which is growing each day and taking one step further every single day. And if that was living the dream, then we're living the dream every moment of every day. And how beautiful is that? Because then that is peace of mind. And that does bring freedom. To me, growing is actually freedom. That's what brings freedom. When you grow, it enhances the choice, the range of choice that you have, which is exactly what you've done. As you've grown every single step, firstly, you're living the dream, which is beautiful, but you also have this future self, which you're aspiring to, and you're changing your story all the time, and you forgive yourself or allow yourself, give yourself permission to do that. Beautiful. It's just amazing. Thank you. And you're having fun, which is just, why live life if it's not fun?
And this is like right now, what we're doing, this is super fun, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we're talking about business here, so
and this is business, and this is adding value to amazing people's lives. So you wrote a book, Own Yourself, and then you have a podcast as well. Tell me, what was the key, so for people who haven't read your book yet, what was the key message you wanted to get through that book?
Oh, yeah. So there's two things, right? So the first one was, how you mentioned that I got my wedding was nationally televised.
Yes.
There's three stories quickly that had just been cemented in my mind for so many years that kept me stuck. So, you said that I don't get stuck. I did get stuck for many years. And what I realized was because I had continued to relive the old stories that I had in my head. So from my dad, my story was always, I was the boy whose father never came back. That was my story. I'm the boy whose father never came back. Second was with the band, with the whole band thing, was that we had toured and we played and opened for many major acts but we had three Asian guys in the band. I was a lead singer. In the early 2000s, pre-YouTube, I understand it now. I didn't understand it then, but all the record labels were like, sorry, we just can't market. There's not a market for you guys. And I was like, what are you talking about? I have no idea. What do you mean? Now I understand. I get it. Right? Yes. I accept. And so I was just like, man, I guess we suck. I'm not marketable. I'm not sellable. Right. And then that was 30 and 33 when my wedding was nationally televised. I was the guy who was the cheap, freaking inconsiderate bastard groom who spent all my money on my on my bachelor party, which is completely false, right? But so that was the last straw. When that TV came out, that TV show came out and someone stopped me at the local grocery store and said, "Hey, I saw you on the show." Man, like what was that about? And I was like, dude, they just completely scripted it. Like I had no idea it was going to come out like that. And he's just like, the woman is like, "Oh, well, thank God, but your friend was hilarious. He stole the show." Right. And that was
Oh,
my greatest moment.
sure.
My wedding day with my wife was supposed to be the greatest moment. And it came out to national TV as me being a complete asshole.
Mm.
So I remember going home and I was so angry and upset. And I was like, you know what? Why do I keep letting other people tell my story?
Mm.
I just want to live the truth, man. I want to be great. I want to be my greatest version. But yet I keep letting other people tell my narratives and control
Yes.
it. And I'm not experiencing breakthroughs because of that. And it was that moment, Carmen, it was in 2011 when I got married. It took me 4 years to really experience some incredible breakthroughs, having multiple businesses, just keeping my head down and working my butt off so I can come to a place where I'm physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally fit, and I could write a story and write a book on the truth so that I can only operate on my truth and experience massive breakthroughs from there.
Beautiful.
Allow other people to do the same. So I said, from now on, I'm going to tell my story and tell it truthfully. And so now I help people master their craft, master their life's work, so that they can rise through their challenges and adversity so that they can get their greatest work out to the world. And so when I had written that book, I was able to tell my story about my dad, about my band, about my wedding day. And guess what? That book allowed my dad to read it from Japan and reach out to me and
Cary.
to reconcile a
Wow.
relationship, so that really, Carmen, that book,
That's just sure. I felt that, Cary. That's beautiful. That's
thank
beautiful.
you.
Can you just share with us? Did he give you feedback? Did he say something to you
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that?
it was really cool. It's because we saw each other every year, but just for very limited times. And when we did connect, I wasn't feeling it. Like I felt disconnected, and so I talked about that. I talked about how I felt and what my narrative and how my mindset was cementing me in a place of just being stuck all the time because of my dad and the anger that I had towards him and the world. And so when he reached out, it was an email. I remember it very clearly. And he just said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that first of all, I'm proud of you for writing a book. And, I always believed in you." And he said that what you wrote about me was completely fair. He said that was fair. And then he shared,
How big is that?
it was huge. But little did I know, obviously, that I was so blinded by my own pain and anger that I didn't get to see or ever listen to his side, so he got to share his side, and it really gave me a great perspective on where he was coming from. And I understood a lot now, going back and thinking about my parents' dynamics and our family history and seeing all that. It all made sense. So our relationship's a lot better, and he still supports me from Japan. He likes all my stuff. He supports, and so it's still, come on, I mean, we're still working on, improving a relationship. And when he does come back, it's a little awkward at times, but at least I'm able to completely ask for forgiveness for feeling that way, and vice versa. And, the power of forgiveness, as you know, Carmen, already, forgiveness is not always about exonerating the other person of whatever they did. It's for us to be able to give ourselves again. So we forgive so that we can give again, and so that's just been such a great experience. And then the last portion of the book, believe it or not, Carmen, was just about me calling myself out. So I had projected all these goals because I was like, no one knows who I am right now. Right. And I don't care. So I'm going to write all these things that I'm going to complete, that I'm going to accomplish. And I remember saying, you know what, I am going to speak on the stage with the Les Browns, the greatest speakers that this generation sees right now. I am going to be on stage with them. And, just last year, one of the guys that I had always talked about, Tim Story, not only did I share a stage with him, but he introduced me onto the stage as the next speaker after he had done speaking.
Incredible. So you spoke about that in your book, and then that came about?
Yeah, I specifically said Les Brown, but always in my journals, I was always thinking Tim Story, because he resonates with me a little more. But with Les Brown, I am in talks with his team right now, actually, to be able to collaborate, soon. So, a lot of those things have either happened. A lot of things that I've just, I don't want to say prophesied, but just I said I'm going to accomplish has either all happened or it's in the works right now.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And tell us about, so come here, I want to come to crystallize the key message in your book that you would love people to take away.
Yeah. The book is really to master your character first. It's to master your character, to really find your inner peace. Again, I can't say this enough. At the end of the day, I think people want peace of mind.
Yes.
They want to know that they lived a life that mattered, a life that was one that they would want to share with people, right? Yes. And if you think about if our lives was supposed to be the next Hollywood movie, like, would I want to watch it? Like, heck yeah, I want to watch it. So it's really mastering your character first, though, because Carmen, you and I have been through enough business and life situations where unless you have that personal integrity, unless you're satisfied with who you truly are, there's very little that matters elsewhere. Yes. Right? So if we've conquered, if we don't have any enemies within our soul, any external enemies cannot hurt us in any way.
Sure.
And so
that's a mic drop.
So I mean, it's not a niche message in any way. Like, my message aren't for just a certain group, but it really is it's simple, but it's so profound, because what I want to say is that the greatest gift, Carmen, that we can truly gift the world, the greatest gift that we can give to the world is for us to live up to our highest potential. Because through that, Carmen, guess what? We're able to be the best businesswoman. If we are our greatest self, then we could be the best mom or aunt or coach, right? Exactly. We often hear too much. We see, say, for example, at least in my community, I would hear this over and over about parents, and you talk to parents and they're morbidly, say, obese, right? And they look like they could just drop dead any second. And they just keep talking about their kids, saying, "Oh, I just live for my kids. I just do this. I only do this for my kids." But it's kind of a double standard, because it's like, how are you living with your kids when you're on the brink of death or falling over with a heart attack or you're, whether it's weight or something that's outside of your integrity. If you're not living up to your greatest potential, how can you say that you're living for something or someone if you're not doing that at the best capabilities for yourself? So my message is own yourself, master your character, rise to the challenges, and find true inner peace, because that's what's going to allow your ecosystem to thrive and experience breakthroughs for themselves. So that's the message, Carmen.
Magic, absolutely magic. And that comes through in everything that you do, Cary. You live that. You absolutely live that message. And it's about honoring you. Own yourself is about honor yourself, because how can you possibly honor others if you don't honor yourself and what's true to you? And I think that's what brought you onto a world stage. So tell us about that, because that was a magic part of your journey.
Yeah. That stage was really cool, Carmen, because again, it came from a place of of anger and pain. You know, I had invested a ton of money into just one program. It was the biggest and one payment investment that I've ever made. And I can tell you that immediately, when the results weren't delivered, you know, that really put my wife and I in a very rocky state, right? Because we had made a few other investments that didn't really go well. But this one was literally for me to go out. It was a huge workshop and a program that my statement was, I want to go out there and be the greatest, not only just a speaker on stage, but also a closer on stage. So I had taken this big, bold step that I'm going to be this big shot speaker on stage and be able to sell like these crazy programs at a high ticket cost. And I learned, you know, the NLP and the persuasion, obviously all within integrity, of course. But to know the language and the closing techniques and the system. And it was such a big ordeal for me to invest in, but I wanted it, right? Something came over me saying, all right, I want to be the greatest, and I want to be the greatest closer, make 8-9 figures doing this business, right? That was just this weirdness that came over me. And when I went through the complete opposite, which is the complete, I want to say, it was a broken system, pretty much. It was a completely broken system. It was run by a lot of people that were just outsourced and just poorly developed and put together. I had to learn that the hard way. And so I went through a dark space where, you know, I was going through some tough times with my wife and explaining to her, you know, what had just happened. Where do we go from here? We're looking to buy a house. What happened to that money? You know, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But it was through that program that I had met a very special friend. Like, we connected, like we were there, and we would do these training programs where he's a guy, like we would just have to lock in eyes and stare at each other for 10 minutes without a word. and then we'd look and stare into each other's eyes. And you know, there's 20 people there, but it happened to be me and him. And one of our first exercises was that, like, we just sit in silence, stare. And then after that, then we close our eyes, and then we have to feel each other, right? For 10 minutes in silence. You got to feel each other's vibe.
Incredible.
And I remember after the exercise was done, the person said, and, you know, in fact, this is awesome. So I'm actually grateful for this experience now that I think about it. So thank you for bringing that out, Carmen. But I remember the trainer said, okay, Trayvon, what did you feel from Cary? What do you see? And I remember him just shaking his head. He had this big grin. He says, Cary, I don't know what it is about you, man, but I just see you speaking on this crazy world stage, and that's just your story. Whether it's he said something like, whether it's a huge stage or a small stage, like, you are meant to be in front of people, and you are going to touch the lives of so many people through your stories. And this is in front of everybody. I started just crying. I couldn't stop. Like, my pain from my dad and like everything just came. And then like, it was like a year later, Carmen. A year later, he just contacted me out of nowhere. He's like, Cary, man, I met this guy named John Shin, and he has the rights to the Think and Grow Rich. He produced a movie, and I'm going to go. And he asked me, we became good friends, and I'm going to be speaking on that stage. And he's like, and I thought of you, man. Like, I just want to connect you guys. Maybe you could come and speak on the stage as well. And you know, long story short, man, like, a few months later, I'm speaking on stage. The first one was in Orange County at the Anaheim Expo, the, you know, huge center with the people who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and some Shark Tank, Scott, you know, some of the names that everyone recognized, Tim Story, David Meltzer, just all the things that you read about and hear on the speaking seminar like circuit, right? And And what's crazy is that, again, Tim's story was on my radar. I would always want to model my speaking and the way I speak after, like, just, he was like my role model for that. When I found out that he was going to be speaking the same day that I was going to be speaking, what's really cool is that I was backstage and Tim had just got done speaking. And John Shin comes and goes, you know what, Cary, we're about to go on a 50-city tour. I could introduce you all day, every day, any day. But I just thought about maybe it's cool if Tim can introduce you onto the stage. And I was like, are you? Absolutely. So Tim came by and then, you know, we just exchanged quick kind of information. And he went back up and introduced me onto the stage. And then we had become friends. So now Tim and I are friends. Well, we've done podcasts. I've been to his home and you know, it's just, again, I set a higher standard and a concept of myself that was completely out of my comprehension, you know, and I decided that no matter what, as long as there's integrity involved, that I'm not out of my character, that I'm going to achieve this. Right. So success is the ability to change a circumstance that you don't like without violating the rights of others. A lot of people experience success while violating the rights of others. And so I always said that success to me is being able to change my circumstance, obviously to progress in a better state without violating the rights of others. So for me to be a part of it.
Incredibly powerful, Cary. Really powerful.
Thank you. And so, yeah, that was my experience. And unfortunately, a lot of the cities got cut short. And then this year was completely obliterated because of the pandemic.
Yes.
But, you know, what's cool is that I'm friends. I'm like literally just a phone call away with a lot of these speakers. And here's the thing, though. Now that we're talking about business without barriers, I'm going to tell the truth now, right? I realized that, yes, it was such a great moment in my time, in my history, in my life. It was a great accomplishment. I noticed the crazy disparities between a lot of the people that I spoke with on stage. And what I noticed was that a lot of these entrepreneurs had built 9-figure companies. And therefore, I didn't build that. Right. I came in from like storytelling and mindset and physical transformation and being able to like motivate people to become their best selves. A lot of these people, again, it's Think and Grow Rich. A lot of these folks were 9-figure entrepreneurs. And so I realize now that the greatest speakers today, if you think about the Gary V's of the world, a lot of these who are the most highest paid and the most sought after speakers aren't really speakers. They're entrepreneurs who build businesses 8, 9, 10 figures by way of adding value to other people, right? To solve their problems.
Comes back to that.
Yes. And so I've shifted. Why I'm doing Food Fest Live and why I'm doing this content media branding is because now I have the desire to build an 8, 9, 10 figure business. And by way of that, in 10 years, when I'm 52, that I will also be the most sought after speaker, where I'm truly now adding value from a completely different perspective. There's a lot of speakers out there talking about transformation and this and this and that. And I feel like they're really internet marketers disguised as these so-called experts. And we see that a lot on Facebook and on Instagram. So there's a lot of fluff going on right now. And we get bunched into that, unfortunately.
Yes.
And so I realized I experienced enough and I'm grateful. But now I have this new higher concept of myself that I want to lead a team. And I want to operate my media company on a global level where I'm operating globally, where I'm collaborating with the biggest food and beverage brands out there, lifestyle media companies that I'm collaborating with, hosting with, doing business with. And that's my next goal. That is my next goal, Carmen, because if I could do that in the next 10 years, from 50 and beyond, I could speak for the rest of my life and share and not have to worry about making money or earning money or selling courses or any of that to sustain myself, which a lot of people are doing right now.
Yes. Well, the interesting thing, Cary, is I think as you do this and grow your media company in this food side of things, I believe you're adding value. I believe you will be telling your story and you're telling other people's stories. So I actually think I see a convergence. I don't think it's necessarily something you're going to be doing at a later stage. I see it as converging into what you're doing right now, because you can't separate all this richness of you from what you're doing now. Everything that you do, the way you do it, the way you speak with people, the love that you bring, the purpose, the passion, the giving a platform to others to enhance their services, that is transformation. So to me, I just see it all. It's become a rich pot of talents and skills and experience and everything that you are just delivering that through a different sort of, you've packaged it differently. But everything that you've done and that's brought you to this point is still there, the richness of it. I don't believe anyone that you have on the other side of that video in a restaurant would ever leave your presence without being different. They're going to change just by virtue of Cary's magic. So I think
that
you're
means
in
so
it.
much. Thanks.
You're in it. You're in it. So I love you, dude. I love you. I love you, brother.
I love you too, sister.
There is something about you that really makes you stand out, that I see in so many of your stories, and it is how you see a challenge differently. So there's two things that I'd like you to touch on quickly. One happened this year. Lockdown hit us, and of course it impacted us all in different ways. But you had an incident where you and your team had the experience of so many things being cancelled around you, and you were stuck at home, and you're okay, so how do we add value? How do we add, everything's been cancelled, what do we do for the next 24 hours to add value? And something profound happened. Tell me about it, because that story was beautiful.
Oh, are you talking about with Omar? The video that I did with Omar?
Yes, so where you decided to do these 20 things, you came up with these 20. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, you know, as you know, that my passion is creating content, and so I'm always working with talented filmmakers and videographers. And earlier this year, I had partnered with a very talented team from Montreal, Canada, and my commitment to them was that they could come and stay at my house. And we would just go wherever we can. We had a lot of projects lined up, meaning through podcasts and cool interviews and filming cinematic day in the life, what we call it the Day in the Life Mastery Series, which is a Netflix style cinematic storytelling, following around influencers and leaders and just really doing just storytelling while breaking bread together and just doing life together. And so it was a crazy, amazing opportunity. They flew in. This was the second time coming this time. And they stayed. And the first day that they arrived, they came, they're tired. They had all their video cameras ready. And then that's when Trump announced the complete lockdown for California. All our businesses, all of the events that we had. I think we had 4 major projects just within the 9 days that they were there. And they all got canceled. So we're like, so what do we do now? What do we do now? And as you know, I have a good friend named Omar Elatar. He's got a fantastic show on YouTube called The Passionate Few, where he interviews literally the giants. We're talking about the Tony Robbins, John Paul DeJoria, who founded he's a billion. He sold his company for $5 billion recently. Just the Ed Mylett, the biggest names you'll ever hear in entrepreneurship, he has interviewed. He's a great friend of mine, and so he came over and we're like, "What do we do, man? How do we add value?" So what we did was the 4 of us got together and we had a big whiteboard in our house in my living room and said, "Let's film a documentary on what 20 things that we can do to add value, at least within our community, within our reach, and film that and just share that with the world." And so we did anything from feeding a homeless person to you had to make a stranger smile somehow, right? So we all had to go out and take turns doing these things, or encouraging somebody, picking up a phone call and calling an influencer to ask for advice. Like stuff like that is it's not the easiest thing, right? You have to go out and really become uncomfortable. We had to get out of our comfort zones, and actually have it on film and just share it with the world. And man, again, what we got out of that was just the plethora of opportunities and insights just from committing that act. Right. So it's just like, man, do I want to go outside right now and feed a homeless person? But for example, that homeless person, we learned more because we thought we were the cool ones, giving, say, like, it was McDonald's, by the way. Right. So we went to McDonald's and we're driving around the neighborhood and we saw this homeless guy who was sitting down, and we filmed it. So two of us had to be in the car, kind of be sly and sneaky. And then our other filmmaker went out, and this is what touched us. He's the homeless guy. We went and gave him food, and he was so grateful that he reached in his pocket and tried to give us money for that. When you see that, I don't know, there's just a level of humanity that you discover. And it makes me feel, just kind of like emotional, because here, there's an ounce of us thinking, okay, this is cool for the world to see this, right? There's a little bit of that, like, oh, this is self-serving. You get what I'm saying? Because we're sharing that with the world. Like, hey, look at this. We're feeding the homeless. But he had no idea what we were doing. And he was just so grateful, just kind of like surprised that someone would even want to come talk to him. And upon giving him his food, he tried to give us money for that, Stuff like that, you truly understand what humility and gratitude means, like on a deeper level. And that made us just want to kind of put our cameras down and just be like, what are we doing, man? There's so much more need in this world than us trying to grab attention, And so obviously we all as a team got closer together. We're all lifelong friends now. And again, I'd ask, what's at the other side of your commitment? What new opportunities lie, when you do something out of your comfort zone, or you do something that you would typically never do, and so that allowed us to not only create more videos, but we created something else after that. And so, yeah, it's just, that gave me, that video actually allowed, the team that I'm working with now. I'm with a new filmmaker because they're local here, and it's through just the videos that I made with them that said, dude, I can do that too with you guys, with you, Cary. Let me see what I can do. Like, we could team up. And that's what we are creating right now with Food Fest Live and my new YouTube channel that revolves around food and fitness and lifestyle.
That's incredible, right? Cary. Such a beautiful story. I mean, you find yourself in lockdown situation. Things are cancelled. So many people would just say, give into that and maybe turn on the TV and just, veg on the couch and, well, what can I do? This is out of my control. You go with your team and you turn it into something so deep and beautiful and so full of substance that then creates a new opportunity. So you created an opportunity out of cancelled events. Yeah. And that then shapes something and so beautiful and so meaningful and brings you together as a team. It connects you in the most beautiful way and sets the tone and the path for more. And that's what I love about you, Cary. It's in those moments where other people would say, oh, well, I've got my back against the wall, can't do anything, I'm stuck at home. You look at that and you go, well, what can we do? We're here for the next 24 hours. We're stuck here. How can we create that stuckness into something that just supercharges us into the next phase? And that is what I see your magic. There's a drive, there's an energy, there's a next, what can we do? It's like, let's just do this. Let's make it happen. That's just so beautiful. What you touched on that story is a key aspect of this program, and that's about bringing humanity back into business. And to me, that is how you break the barriers down, is that you bring what's beautiful and human about us, because I think we've forgotten our humanness too often in business, especially. When you bring that straight back into business, the barriers just seem to slip away. And we're able to overcome that because the human element is what gives us the strength. And that's what you're speaking about there. So when I say something like bring humanity back into business, why would you say that's important, Cary?
Yeah, because you say humanity back?
Yes, yes.
Yes, absolutely. Um, it's, I think that as human beings, we're here, when you think about, there's no such thing as money. Business was business was all about just trading whatever goods you had. Back in the day, it was through it was a transformative exchange, communication, people just believing in the goodness of trading, right? So it's like back in the day, 600 years ago, Carmen, I would have nothing but tea leaves, and you would have sheets so warmer at night, and I'd have to go and talk with you, sit with you, believe in you, and say, hey, you know what, can we trade, right? Until all this came, and the art form has been lost. And more than ever, I believe that the pandemic has placed a pause button on the whole entire world. And more than ever, we see through all the heinous acts and transactions, right? And we want it to go back to transformation. So humanity to me is transformation, not a transaction. And I believe that everything has now just been geared towards transaction. So humanity is bringing goodness and connectedness back to how we go about living our lives, right? It's the power soul connection that we deeply yearn. Like more than ever, we just want connection. And we realize that now, like at first Zoom was really cool when the pandemic occurred, and people are like, you know what? I don't have to travel anymore. This Zoom thing is cool. But guess what's happening now? People are having Zoom fatigue. They can't wait to go out and touch another human being.
Absolutely.
And that really answers your question. We want and we yearn to connect with people at deeper levels.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I always say, like, my business has become simple. I just want it to be simple, fun, and lucrative. Can I go on a vacation with my partner? If I can't do that, I'm not going to go into business with this person.
Yes.
You see, that's a humanity level. That's a character level.
Absolutely.
My book is called Own Yourself, Master Your Character, because it's about humanity first.
Ah, beautiful, Cary. Beautiful. So what would you say? You've given so much of you and given us such a beautiful insight into what has developed your story and your beautiful character. What would you say then, from everything that you've been through, the pains, the struggles, the successes, the pits and then the highs, what would you say is the most critical factor in overcoming those barriers? What would, for you, and what you'd want to share with other people, to create a business without barriers, where you see the barriers as opportunities for breakthroughs? What's the most important ingredient to live like that? Your ethos is about, breaking through constantly. So what
Can I share two? Can I share two?
Of course.
One is a reminder, and if not every day, it's every other day that I think about this. Some may even say that's kind of dark, but I always remind myself that I'm going to die. I'm going to die a lot sooner than I think. And so each day when I wake up, and I think about this very often, every time I see my wife next to me, I'm grateful. I see myself, I'm moving. I'm super grateful. I am obviously God here. God has a purpose for me today, right? But I'm also one day closer to my death. Every single day that I wake up, I realize I am one day closer to the day that I'm going to die one day, right? And if we spend 8 hours a day sleeping, that means that we have slept 1/3 of our lives. So when you rack up, Carmen, when you rack up, okay, so if I'm 42 now and the average lifespan here in the United States is 78, that gives me 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
But if out of
Sure.
those 30 years, I'm going to be sleeping a third of the time, that really gives me what, 10 optimal years of living on this earth.
Yeah.
If you break it down like that, that's straight
Mm,
10 years.
that has an
10 years of
impact.
living time, and if not sleeping,
Mm,
if I don't
mm,
get hit by a car tomorrow.
mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm very keen to that. And it makes me
Mm,
realize what's most important to me. It's my relationships. It's not going to be making that $1 billion deal or whatever, or transaction, making that transaction. It's who can I love on the most? Who can I create memories with? And that's on a human level. So I realize that. Second is that when it comes to business, a lot of people will say right now that you got to continue to network and build relationships, because that's what's going to allow a transaction to truly like conform and go through, right? A process of sales, and you're really a salesman at the end of the day.
mm.
So how does that happen? And there's a saying that small hinges swing big doors.
Yes.
Small hinges swing the biggest doors. And how
Mm,
does that relate to us? Right? Is that in a relationship, we all know that people buy from who they like, know, and trust. Right?
mm-hmm.
You transact business with people that you just like to deal with within life. Right? And so when you think about that, so many people are consumed with, they're just so, they can't wait to just say what they do, and they're not even listening to the other person. They're just waiting for their opportunity to say what they do so they could pass their card or book or whatever, and it's just become just a regurgitation of stuff that I don't like, which is why I no longer do what I used to do, like in networking and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you the greatest example. I am part of a group called Asian Hustle Network. Okay. And I promise that this story will cement my point in what I'm saying. Small hinges open big doors, go a mile deep, only an inch wide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's my philosophy in business. All right. Small hinges open big doors. And that the secret is in going an inch wide, a mile deep with a person. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Asian Hustle Network has 60,000 members on Facebook. 60,000. And recently, earlier this year, before the pandemic, Southern California decided to have a local meetup through that big private group. So they said, hey guys, we're throwing a Southern California meetup. All the people from LA, Orange County, we're going to do a meetup. So sign up. Like 550 people signed up to show up. Right. And someone told me, Cary, you got to go to this because you're a speaker, you're an author. You can really just go and kill it, crush it out there. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Because it's all the same networking, this and that. And my friend said, you just have to meet this one guy. His name is Kevin. And I was like, okay. So Kevin and I had a phone conversation. He happened to be the person putting that event together. So I said, all right, I will volunteer, Kevin. I'm going to volunteer and help you as much as I can. But I'm there to get to know you and serve you and do whatever is needed that you need so that this whole thing goes well. And I'll tell you what. So Kevin now is almost like a celebrity within that community that he put together. He is the CEO of Food Fest Live, and I'm his partner. We do Food Fest Live together.
Incredible.
He is now about to jump ship and join a team called Hub.
Mm-hmm.
And Hub is a new social media platform that's encrypted. That doesn't take your data, and it's started by the co-founder of LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And so Kevin is now going to be on the leadership team with them, and he wants me to be the greatest success story of the Hub platform. Right? All because my only intention was to have a profound relationship with Kevin. And so he and I are like brothers, and we do life together. He knows about my family. I know about his family. We tell our struggles and our emotional, pains that we went through throughout the week. We're accountability partners like you and I are, Carmen. And we're about to do this whole food thing together, and that was all because I said, rather than saying, okay, I'm going to go and pass out my card and show them my videos and meet as many people as I can. I just said, I want to get to know Kevin. I like him. I trust him. I know him. I trust that his intentions have the highest form of integrity and value. And he and I are doing life together, and he's the CEO of Food Fest Live, and he asked me to come on as a partner and the official host.
That's
right?
incredible.
Because he's seen my work. Oh, and I forgot to tell you that during the pandemic, you talked about the 20 things that I did with Omar.
Mm-hmm.
So Kevin's such a great foot soldier that he blasted in the community, in the Facebook community. He said, hey, the lockdown just went to happen. Which store needs my support? I'll go buy your food right now. And when I saw him post that, I said, Kevin, I have a whole film squad right now with us. Let's go to 5 or 6 different places, support them, and we'll film a documentary out of it. And that's what really just sparked our relationship. So we went and supported 5 local small business restaurants here locally. We made a documentary out of it, and it was received so well. And we just became kind of like these, not I don't want to say like celebrities, but like people know us as like the foodie guys, within the 60,000 members that we have in this Facebook community. And so that's how Food Fest Live even began. And so again, it's just, you just continue to create. I want to say this is that your subconscious mind can't tell what's real or what isn't.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know that, mm-hmm. Carmen. So for us, it's like we just continue to just create our reality.
Mm.
We create it, right? And it's not like I say, I'm going to become a basketball player. I have enough self-awareness and experience to know that that's not within my realm. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But within our self-awareness, within the unlimited capacity that we are going to go after, and we could create whatever it is that we say we want to create. Because everything is created twice. Everything is created twice. Once in the mind and then here.
And then in reality.
Yeah.
Sure. Cary, everything that you stand for is this deep, you're such a deep, virtuous, principled person. And you live and breathe this humanity aspect, which you bring into your work. And I think it's which is why people are attracted to you, because you're real. It's about the substance for you. It's about the connection. It's about the enrichment. It's not just about being rich, it's about enrichment. And you're enriching other people's lives. And that is, to me, what is needed in terms of our businesses, to bring that beautiful stuff that actually makes it matter back into business. Thank you for being a testimony to that, and for sharing your absolute magic with us. There's just so much passion that just without you even trying it, there's just this beautiful energy, and I can just see why so many different people just want to work with you and are just so attracted to this thing that we're looking for, but we've lost it. There's so much that we've lost, and yet it's part of us, and mm-hmm. that is from that young age, and all these experiences weaved together has created the you that we see, and your story. And thank you for sharing it with us. So, well, is there any last final insight you want to share before we wrap it up? Because I've received so much from you. I feel like we want to wrap it up now. But what's the last insight you want to share?
Yeah, I'm so grateful for you, Carmen. I really am, because if you think about just the connection that you and I had, it was through somebody who thought that we'd be a good fit together. And,
Mm.
and we want to thank Gladys for that, right?
Yes,
Gladys and I still
yes.
keep in touch, but I speak to you more than I speak to Gladys. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you realize that it's these sweet connections,
Mm.
whatever timing it is, whatever, timeline it is in your life, that people come in and out, but only a few things matter in life, really. Just a few things matter in life. And I realize I've realized that it's these deep connections that I
Mm.
can take to the grave with. It's the good deeds, right? It's the feeling
Yes,
of goodness, the
yes.
feeling that you and I have literally there's 7 billion people in this world. You
Mm.
are in Mauritius, I am in
Mm.
Los Angeles, and
Yes,
you and I are the only ones on this frequency
yes,
talking at this vibration
yes.
to each other.
How
And
incredible.
so all I can say is that even we've never met in
Mm.
real life. I consider you a great friend, Carmen. Like
Yes,
you
that
talk
is
about,
fascinating.
outside of just what we talk about, we
Mm.
connect and you know about my wife. My
Mm-hmm.
wife knows about you. Like if you think about it, it's crazy because we've never met. We're continents apart,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it just took one person to say, Cary, I think you should meet Carmen. Carmen, you should meet Cary.
Mm-hmm.
And we are lifelong friends.
Yes,
So
yes.
again, that's just a testament to what we just talked about, the importance of what it means to truly go deep with somebody,
Mm.
right? The surfacey stuff that's we had to see heinous acts in this world to see who you don't want to mess with in this world anymore,
Yes, yes, yes.
right? It takes a cowardly act and a series of that to realize I got to unfollow this person. Or I got to stop paying attention. I want
Mm.
to be closer to this person, right?
Mm.
And so it's great that humanity is at a point where decisions become easier now for us,
Mm.
and because of that, our business becomes easier
Mm.
because we're only going to transact and have a transformative relationship with people that we know we are going to know, like, and trust. And so, like, for example, Carmen, whether we do any deals, in life together, I just know that I have a lifelong friend, and I know I'm going to come visit you when this craziness.
You damn right you are.
Right.
Yes.
You're my mentor. I come to you for business advice, and you've been so solid with that. And so again, what's possible at the other side
Yes.
of your fears? Your pain is under the umbrella of fears, right? So we could
Mm.
have chosen not to respond to Gladys. We could have said, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
just forget it. I'm not going to
Mm.
email her back. But we responded to it, and now we are lifelong friends. That's all I could say. That's just that. Be sincere, because only the sincere will last at the end of the day.
Yeah, totally. I love what you said. What's on the other side of your fears?
And
Wow.
you won't know until you do it, right? Right.
Wow. So
We're
just
two
do it.
strangers. We were
Yeah,
two
just
strangers at one point.
absolutely. And now connected as soulmates. And
Yes.
thank you, Cary. Thank you for this magical hour. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being the most beautiful human and for bringing that into your business and sharing that with so many people and having the impact. And I just wish you the greatest love and everything that you need to take your food festivals into the homes of people and bring us together, because food brings us together,
Absolutely.
and to create that delicious connections. Thank you for this beautiful hour.